to hide me all of that day. Lord wants to hide me. Lord wants to hide me. Lord wants to hide me all of that day. My soul in the book of
Yes, hello everyone. Guten Morgen, guten Tag, good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are joining us in this session, this international session. I'm here to welcome you on behalf of the Austrian Fundraising Association, the Swiss Fundraising Association, and the German Fundraising Association. We're doing this session together today with the King Baudouin Foundation in the United States. And we're very happy that so many of you have decided to join us today. My name is Martin Georgi. I'm chair of the German Fundraising Association, and I'm very happy to be able to have another session together with King Baudouin Foundation today, because we already had one very interesting session on the subject of large donors, large gifts. And today we're going to be exploring the issue of membership and how that relates to fundraising and development. I think that is an underexplored area of fundraising, and I'm very happy that we'll be covering this today. I'm also happy to be linking up again to the Alvin Ailey dance theater, which I experienced in my youth, which was a few years ago. And I really enjoyed some presentations of theirs when I was living in the United States. So I'm also just very happy about this cultural element and how that relates to the whole issue of membership and fundraising. The language of today's session will be English. If you are a German speaker, as most of you will be, and you're not quite comfortable with English, feel free to ask any questions if you don't understand something. If there's an expression that is unfamiliar, please ask any question you would like in the chat, and we'll be happy to answer it. Also, if you have a question that you want to ask to the speaker and you're not comfortable in addressing the speaker in English, feel free to ask the question in German, and there'll be no problem for us to translate it into English. I'll also repeat that in German for those of you with mainly German knowledge. Hier nochmal kurz auf Deutsch. Wer sich nicht ganz wohl fühlt im Englischen, kann gerne jegliche Frage, wenn etwas unklar ist, wenn ein Begriff nicht sitzt oder unverständlich ist, gerne im Chat stellen. Und auch Fragen sind im Chat auf Deutsch möglich, wenn jemand sich nicht mit dem Englischen so ganz wohl fühlt. Das werden wir dann gerne auf Englisch weitertragen. If you enjoy today's sessions, as I'm sure you will, feel free to follow other sessions, either of the King Baudouin Foundation, but also, of course, of the Austrian Fundraising Association, the Swiss Fundraising Association, and the German Fundraising Association. We have a whole list of events coming up in the next weeks and months, small seminars, large seminars, expert talks. We have magazines, we have newsletters, and we have big congresses, which hopefully will be live now that the pandemic is starting to quiet down, we hope. And we hope to be able to see you again at other events, whether live or virtually. Welcome to this meeting and to many others. And we look forward to working with you. And we're looking very much forward to today's session. Thank you very much.
Great. Thank you, Martin. And please just allow me a word of hello and welcome. Good morning, good afternoon. I'm Elena Fotinatos, the Deputy Director of the King Baudouin Foundation, United States. It's great to be here, and thanks so much for taking the time today. There's some familiar names on the attendee list, but for those who aren't familiar with KBF US, please allow me a brief word. The King Baudouin Foundation, United States facilitates thoughtful, effective giving to Europe and Africa. We enable U.S. donors to support their favorite causes overseas. We also provide European and African nonprofits with cost-effective solutions to raise funds in the United States through a tool we call an American Friends Fund. We have over 500 American Friends Funds, including with institutions like the Rijksmuseum in the Netherlands, the Bavarian State Opera in Germany, Fedora, National Library of France, among others. These funds save nonprofits the trouble and expense of setting up their own 501c3 public charity. KBF US handles all back office administration, including tax receipts and donor support. So if you have donors in the US, please feel free to reach out to me and we'd be happy to assist. And if you have donors in Canada, Europe, or even Asia, feel free to reach out as well. We have partners that can help you with donors in these countries and regions. My information will be made available following the webinar, so don't hesitate to give me a shout. In addition to these services, usually in the spring, we have a study visit where we welcome professional fundraisers from the cultural and educational sectors to New York to learn about the American model of fundraising. Unfortunately, because of the circumstances, obviously we're not planning that event this year, but we do hope that we can welcome you sometime soon. So if that's an event you're interested in, please do reach out to me and I'd love to include you in the list for invitations when we're able to do so. Now, a couple quick points before I introduce our esteemed guest. You are all on listen only mode. The session is being recorded. And like Martin said, you can submit questions throughout. Amanda will be taking questions while she's speaking, in fact, so don't wait for a Q&A at the end. Submit them as they come up and I'll pose them to Amanda at the right time. So without further ado, let me introduce our speaker today, Dr. Amanda Nelson. Amanda is the Associate Professor of Theater and Primary Advisor for the MFA Arts Leadership at Virginia Tech. She's the former Deputy Director of Development at the world-renowned Alvin Ailey American Dance Theater in New York. She was at Ailey for over 11 years, overseeing membership programs, government relations, corporate sponsorships, and foundation support. She led her team in the development and implementation of extensive and successful fundraising campaigns that both expanded the donor pool and deepened donor relationships. Today, she continues to consult with arts organizations, including facilitating planning processes and guiding organizations through internal and external campaigns to build awareness and garner support. In 2013, she joined the faculty at Virginia Tech to create and establish a new graduate degree program in arts leadership. At Virginia Tech, Amanda teaches a range of theater and arts courses, including arts leadership, arts advocacy, arts marketing, development, strategic management, and human resources in the arts. She holds a PhD in drama from Tufts University, an MA in drama from San Francisco State University, and a BA in drama from University of California at Irvine. She serves on the board of the First Virginia chapter of the Association of Fundraising Professionals. We are extremely lucky to have Amanda join us today. Amanda is a fantastic speaker. She comes to us because she has been speaking at our organization for our in-person study visit for over 10 years, predates me, I think, since the beginning of the program. So we're so happy to welcome her in this new format. Thank you so much, Amanda, for joining. We're all really excited to hear from you.
Thank you and welcome everybody. I'm just going to get my screen shared. So here we go. If there are any issues, someone please give a shout. If not, I'm going to dive right in. So it's my pleasure to be here today to talk about strengthening long-term relationships, membership program strategies for retention and growth. I'd like to kick us off with a couple of audience polls, get us all warmed up. So I hope that you'll participate. The first poll, and Lindsay will put it up for us in a moment, is the first thing that comes to my mind when I hear the term membership program is, and you've got the options of, I don't think about membership programs, a lot of work for little return on investment, a lot of work with the potential for return on investment, or a lot of work and I'm not sure if there's a return on investment. So just give everyone a little time to respond. It's fun to watch. There's some responses still coming in, so I'm just sort of waiting a moment. So the good news is, and I'm very relieved to hear this, that Only a few of you said that you don't really think about membership programs. I'm hoping that after this session, maybe you'll start to think about them a little bit. I'm delighted to say that the majority already is at the point of recognizing the potential for return on investment from membership, and hopefully you'll feel reaffirmed by this session. And for those of you who are new to this, hopefully we will move you to the dark side of membership by the end of this session. All right, let's do the second poll, which is, let's see if I can get my, oops. The word membership, when we were setting this session up, seems to have very different meanings for different people. So the next poll is, in my organization, a member is best described as, and I have 7 different options for you to choose from. And Lindsay's putting that up now. You can say that in your organization, currently, a member is really a board member who provides oversight but does not donate. A board member who provides oversight and does donate is a donor, is an advisor who has voting privileges, or is an individual donor who regularly attends your events and programs, is an individual donor but actually isn't that engaged with your organization. They don't regularly attend your events. A corporate donor whose employees regularly attend events and programming, or a corporate donor whose employees are not involved with your organization. So let's see, we're starting to see some responses. Just give everyone a couple of moments more to respond. This is really helpful to me, and hopefully for all of you when you see the results, get a sense of who's in the room with us today. Thank you for all of you who are responding. All right. Great. Good. The good news is many of you clearly already have membership programs, which is great. I think it was 62% of you, which is really great. For those of you who don't yet have member programs, or for those of you who have member programs who are looking to expand or perhaps reassess or revamp, I'm hoping you take away some tips from today's session. As everybody said, please don't wait for the end to ask questions. You can feel free at any time to post questions into the Q&A, and somebody will get my attention and I will make sure your question is answered. And with that, I am going to dive back in. So since we're going to be using the Alvin Ailey American Dance Theater as our primary example for our conversation today, I do want to provide just some basic information so that everybody has a sense of context for my conversation. So the Alvin Ailey American Dance Theater is actually made up of several different organizations within the organization. So we have the Alvin Ailey American Dance Theater. That's our first company. That's the company that tours the world. Some of you have seen in person. When you were entering the webinar, the video that was playing, those were dancers from the Alvin Ailey American Dance Theater performing sections of the signature work, Revelations. Then we have Ailey 2, which is a junior company, young professionals. We have the Ailey School, which offers dance classes and training for people ages 3 to 83 is what we say. We take people over 83, but that's our messaging. The Ailey Extension, which are dance and fitness classes for the public. And Ailey Arts in Education and Community Programs, which do all sorts of school residencies and community programs. One program that I'll talk about a little bit more in this presentation is Ailey Camp, which is a summer day program in cities across the United States for at-risk youth. The organization was founded in 1958, so it's a long-standing cultural institution. We've performed in 71 countries. As I said, I think a number of you may have seen the company in your home country. A typical season, and this is pre-COVID, was an international tour, a tour through the US, and a New York City home season. And to give you a sense of reach, the organization reaches about 500,000 people around the world every year. Now, we're talking about development today, so I want to talk a little bit more about the facts and figures around fundraising at Ailey. These are figures from my tenure at Ailey. My team was responsible for raising between 8 and 9 million each year for the annual operating budget. We did do 2 large-scale campaigns during my tenure. Those were on top of our annual goal. The funds are raised for this 8 to 9 million from corporate sponsorships, from foundation and government grants, from special events like galas, and from individuals. And this includes memberships. In fact, during my tenure, about 1.5 plus $1 million every year was raised from memberships. How many people did I have working on this? Well, I had 2 full-time staff completely dedicated to our membership program. I, of course, as Deputy Director of Development, was very involved with our members and our membership programs. I brought in seasonal help to assist during our New York season. And we also, towards the end of my tenure, added a major gifts officer, and that person, of course, was also involved. So I just wanted to give you a little bit of the lay of the land before we dove in. And now I want to start with what's in a name. In the arts and culture sector, membership programs, as you all know, come in so many different shapes and sizes. And when we're creating a membership program or we're revamping an existing program, I think it's really important to spend some time thinking about the name of our membership program. And I'm putting some names up that I want to talk through. So if inclusivity and closeness is important to your message in your membership programs, then you might want to use the term friends or family in the title or the name of your membership program. If you envision a program that's maybe more exclusive, maybe you would use the term partners or circle or society. If you view your members primarily as ambassadors who will help spread your mission to their own social and professional circles, then maybe you want to use the term ambassadors in your membership title name. Maybe you think of your members as being real insiders to your organization. So maybe you'd use the word insiders. And some people and some donors really think of themselves as investors. And so that's another word you might want to use. Now, to me, no matter what name you choose to use for your program, and we'll take a deeper dive into these in a little while, belonging, community, and connection are the foundations for any membership program. And I believe that belonging, community, and connection leads to ongoing, countable annual support. So today, I'm framing this with thinking about membership under fundraising as moving from the transaction to the relation. So from the transactional to the relationship. And we're going to do this by first reminding ourselves about mission and vision and talking about Simon Sinek and his concept of start with why. Then we're going to talk about the concept of donors as investors. And as Kay Sprinkle Grace says, we need to make sure that we are not begging for money, that we put away the tin cup. We are going to talk about actually what's involved in building or revamping a membership program. And I'm going to connect our conversation today to moves management, which I imagine many of you are already familiar with. I'll go over the moves management steps, and particularly for looking at membership, I'm going to use the terms connect, engage, and deepen. So this is sort of the plan for today. Feel free to ask questions as we go. There will be a couple of opportunities like the polls for you to get involved, and I hope you'll participate. And with that, here we go. So some of you may already be familiar with Simon Sinek through his book, Start With Why, or his much viewed TED Talk, Great Leaders Inspire Action. If you don't know his work, I really encourage you to check it out. This is an image of Sinek's golden circle. And for him, he explains this as a way to illustrate how we as organizations typically construct or articulate our why, our how, and our what. you'll notice that the why is at the center. The why is our purpose, our cause, our belief, our mission. And the how is the proprietary process or the way our company goes about doing what it does. The what is the proof of why we do what we do. Now, typically in our work, in both marketing and development, we move from the outside in. We articulate what our company does. We possibly talk about how we do it, but rarely do we really clearly articulate the why. And Sinek argues that great leaders and innovators start from the why. He says communicating from the inside out and starting with the why is difficult. It's fuzzy, it's hard to articulate. The what and the how to some degree is more rational. And that's why our tendency is to speak from the outside of this circle inside. But what he purports is flipping that and speaking from the why. Now, importantly to understand in his concept, the why is not the money that we make or the success that we achieve. Sinek would argue that our donations, our success as an organization is the result of our why, but it's not our why. So just take a moment to yourself and think about the why a little bit. Maybe start with your mission, or maybe just start with some words that you can think of that make you think of why your organization exists. Why does my organization do what it does? And just for a moment, just keep that to yourself and think about that. Now, it's important for me to say that Simon Sinek has not come from the arts or cultural sector, but he has worked with many leaders and organizations in the not-for-profit arts sector. And to me, I think why this concept resonated so quickly and so much is that the why to me is really the mission. It's our mission. It's our true north. It's what guides us. And it explains to our staff and our teams, our board members, and our donors and our members why we do what we do. Important to this concept is what Sinek calls, and this is a quote, people don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. I'm going to repeat that. People don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. This is a photo of some youth participating in Ailey camp in Newark, New Jersey. And I want you just to take a moment to look at the picture. And how does it make you feel? What do you see when you look at this? When I look at this picture, I see inspiration, I see pride, I see joy, I see empowerment. To me, this image helps me to explain and articulate the why of the Ailey organization. So I'm going to suggest that if you haven't done this recently, that after the webinar today, that you spend some time reviewing your own organization's visual and audio assets and look at the stories that they tell. Can you parse out the why behind your organization's programming through the visual assets? Remember, people don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. And now I'd like, if everyone is willing, for us to participate a little bit as an audience. I'm going to give you 2 prompts, one at a time, and I'd like you to put your responses in the chat if you're comfortable. And we will then call out a few and talk a little bit more about the why and learning to communicate from the why. So my first prompt to you is, in a few words or a short phrase, describe your organization. Now, the caveat here is we're trying to get at the why. So the first instinct might be to say the what, but really try to take a moment to think about words or phrases that would describe your organization and help us get to the why. And I'll give everyone a little bit of time to throw some things in the chat.
Okay, Amanda. Transforming people for a better world. Everyone wants to keep on seeing what he or she loves. We will help you give with a heart. Bringing the concept of sound walking to a broader audience and making it more accepted as an artistic form of expression. Protecting and restoring forests. Cultural heritage, contemporary thought, art community, scholarship for students, participation, inclusion, self-determination, empowerment for people with disabilities, culture for all, seeing a unique person in every child, accurately recording history for future generations, nurturing social change, empowering and inspiring our neighborhood through contemporary art, basic medical aid for people in need. We share it because it belongs to the world.
Great.
Art in everyday life.
Great. Now, I have to be honest, I'm hearing a lot of clear what's, and I'm hearing shadows and starts of the why. It's really hard to do. And I would really, really suggest, particularly for membership programs, to spend some time yourself and maybe with your team, really trying to get to the why behind the what. We do this, but we do it because. That might be a good way to think through it. All right, I'm going to give a second prompt, and it's very closely related to what you just did, to the why of what you just did, which is flipping it. And in a few words or a short phrase, share how your donors would describe your organization. So what do you think your donors think your organization's why is? You may know, you may not know, but just take a moment to think about your closest members or donors or your board, and how would they describe your organization? Not just what you do, but why they think you do it. Let's see if people can give that a try.
They donate to be a member of a broader community to which they otherwise would have no or little access.
Great.
To mitigate climate change, professional, worldwide humanity partner of government, providing a voice for less common cancers, service to academia, promoting cutting edge art, helping those most in need, saving animals, a place with people who help us, discover causes and organizations they never knew existed, being part of an elite group of art lovers, a museum building.
Great.
They donate to give their children a future without blindness, donate to save lives, they trust us. Preserving written memory of our history.
Great.
Having connection to the art world.
Great. Feel free to keep adding things into the chat box. I wanted just to get us all thinking about rethinking how we articulate who we are as an organization, and really thinking about the why behind what we do. I think that's a really important part about building and expanding membership. And a lot of you, interestingly, in some ways it may have been easier to talk about the why when you looked at it through the lens of your donors and your members. I heard a lot more phrases that to me sort of articulated the because or the why, and that's great. Obviously, ultimately, what we want in our fundraising campaigns, and particularly in membership, is that the way we articulate and describe our organization aligns with the way our members articulate and describe our organization. So making sure that all of our messaging and communication really connects to and aligns with our members. Thank you. As I said, feel free to keep using the chat if you'd like to. I'm going to, for time's sake, move on. I am going to talk a little bit about Kay Sprinkle Grace, who is a fundraising expert here in the States. She really has been pushing us over the last 10 or 15 years to think about our donors in a different way. She really wants us to think about them as investors, that their donations are investments, that there is a social return on investment rather than just a return on investment. And you'll notice that she's really talking about values. It's about connecting the values of our organization with the values of our donors. There's a social piece to this that's really important for us to remember. She also, very importantly, really stands on the soapbox and calls out, put away the tin cup. And she says we've been improving as a sector over time, but that she still sees in our direct mail appeals and our public communications online that we, quote, still rely on presenting ourselves as needy organizations rather than organizations that meet needs. And to me, I think this goes back to the concept of really keeping our focus on the why of our organization. The what we do is important, but the why is really what we need to get better at articulating. So let's dive into membership programs. So these steps will be useful for if you're creating a membership program, if you're re-examining, reassessing, or even revamping your current program. So obviously, and many of you are probably routinely doing this, but I really believe we need to start by studying our patron base. We need to really understand interests and affinities. We need to understand capacity to give, but also the propensity. How willing are people to get involved and give to our organization? We need to offer a range of giving levels and benefits that align and complement patron interests, capacity, and propensity. I'm going to dig into the benefits shortly. We need to be building connections and, I believe, ultimately relationships, moving from the transactional to the relational. And we can do this with members through activities, events, and even our donor communications. We need to connect members with other members. Tip, we all know this, engaged members are the best ambassadors for our organization. We need to encourage current members to become more involved at a higher giving level when possible and appropriate. And we need to always be reaching potential new members.
Amanda, could
Yes.
you clarify what a patron base is, please?
Certainly.
Yeah.
Certainly. I'm going to dig into this a little bit more, but your patron base are both your current attendees, your current donors, your current board, people who are active in your programming. And the patron base doesn't necessarily equate with donor. Your donors are going to hopefully come from your patron base, but your patron base is everybody that your organization interacts and touches with your programming and your events.
Thank you.
Sure. I said I was going to use Ailey as an example. I'm going to start by talking about 3 of their programs in membership. We have the Friends of Alvin Ailey, Ailey Partners, and the Artistic Directors Circle. Each of these member programs has multiple donor or member levels with corresponding benefits. Now, I want to also give a caveat. At Ailey, our membership programs developed over a long period of time. It was about 20 years before we had all of the programs fully up and running. The first program was the Friends of Alvin Ailey, which engaged donors who could give at very modest levels. As the organization and the patron base expanded and the prospect base expanded, the organization launched Ailey Partners. And then towards the end of my tenure at Ailey, we had done, as I mentioned, 2 significant capital and endowment campaigns. And what that brought to the surface was a need for a higher level of membership for people with that kind of capacity who could have a special member program for those who could give 10,000 and up for us. This is an example. It's a screenshot from the Ailey website. It was actually taken before COVID. They've adjusted their membership benefits for the COVID era, but I want us to look at the pre-COVID benefits for a moment. You'll see that we're looking at the $800 level, Friends of Alvin Ailey membership level. A quick note, you'll see the term sponsor. In this context, this does not mean corporate sponsors. This actually refers to individuals of the Friends of Alvin Ailey who are giving at the $800 level. Sponsor was a word that people who created this membership program over 20 years ago came up with. And while we discussed changing it several times, we ended up just leaving it. But I do realize it's a point of confusion. So I want to talk about benefits now. There are really primarily 2 types of benefits. We have experience or experiential benefits, which are honestly most of the benefits presented here. And then we also have merchandise, or what we in the States would call swag, coffee mugs, calendars, things like that, that are branded with your organization's logo. In my own experience, experiential benefits are typically the ones that are most appreciated and actually used by donors. And these tend to be events, performances, behind the scenes offerings like backstage tours, meet and greet with artists, open rehearsals, donor trips. And as I said, looking at this screen, you'll see that the majority of the benefits noted here are really benefits that are experiential. But I do think that there is a place for benefits that are goods rather than services. So a special keepsake would be what I would specifically recommend here. I don't generally suggest a coffee mug with your logo, but I want to share this one example of using a specific special keepsake for your membership program. In 2010, Alvin Ailey's signature work, Revelations, turned 50, and we decided to commemorate that occasion. We created a special campaign, and we invited patrons and audience members to sign a birthday card sharing their experience the first time they saw Revelations. And of course, we also included give a gift and get a gift. So you would give a birthday gift in honor of Revelations, and you would get something in return. And the gift you would get in return was a version of the yellow fan, which you see on the screen. And that is a prop that is used in the final section of Revelations. All the women have a fan and they dance with it. And it's for Ailey fans, it's a strong connection between the organization and an item. And I want to tell you a quick story. One of our members, our friends of Alvin Ailey, made a special gift. She made an additional gift to this campaign, and we mailed her the fan. And then she wrote me a thank you letter and included another donation. She was so thrilled with getting the fan. She told me in her thank you note that she opened up the package, she pulled out the fan, and she immediately started dancing around her living room, imitating the dancers from Revelations with her fan. So if you can hit on something that has a real connection to your organization, then a material benefit can be a very good and worthwhile benefit to give.
Amanda, can I jump in with a couple
Sure.
questions that we have? One, just because I think it pertains to exactly what you were just saying, who pays for these experiences?
Sure. So I'm going to actually, in just a moment, dig into the benefits. Typically, with the benefits, there are either free to the member; it's part of their membership, or there is a small amount of funds that are paid or fee paid for a specific benefit. But I'm going to get into that in just a moment. Was there anything else?
Okay. Yeah, maybe a broader question, which is how do you study your patron base? How do you gather your data for analysis?
I am getting to that in just a moment.
All right, folks.
Coming,
so hang on tight. We'll be patient.
It's coming.
Okay.
I also want to just briefly mention while we're here that a lot of people are trying to develop the next generation of philanthropists. So if you haven't ventured into having a specific donor program for young patrons, you might want to develop a young patron circle or society that could help teach the next generation of people about philanthropy. And with that, I'm going to go right into some pro tips about membership benefits. This is important. The cost to benefit ratio is a net positive for both your members and your organization. So what does that mean? It means that whatever benefits you are going to give to your members, that it is sustainable and for your organization and usable for your members. So this gets to the question of appropriateness of what benefits you're going to give. If it is not a net positive, if you are collecting funds from a membership program and the cost of delivering the benefits outweighs the cost or the money raised, it is not a net positive, and you really need to relook at your benefits and your giving levels. How do you do that? It's really important to settle on appropriate levels of donations and corresponding benefits. So I would suggest starting by looking at peer organizations that are in your city or your country or are across the world that you think have strong membership programs, and look at the level of the membership, the level of the donation the member is giving, and then the benefits that are given in relation to that benefit. So every membership level has a different kind of benefit structure, and different benefits are given. Now, I want to go back to what I started with. It's really important to make sure that your benefits connect to and complement your mission and programs. Quick example, Alvin Ailey is a dance company. It would really not make sense to me to do some sort of golf event. Even if some of my donors were golfers, it wouldn't make sense for Ailey to host a golf tournament or a golf event. That just does not connect to my mission and my programs. Now, benefits are important, but as Simon Sinek says, people don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. And so it's really important that members aren't just having a transactional relationship with you. And one way you can make it more relational is make sure that your donors are aware of what their funds are doing for your organization. So you could have an opportunity for your members to actually earmark their donation, their membership gift, to a specific fund, and you should describe what that fund does, why it exists, and how they can help. So again, people don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. I mentioned in the beginning that I was going to talk about moves management and membership. I imagine that this is familiar to most of you on the call. For those of you who need a refresher or who are new to it, moves management literally refers to moving a prospect and converting them into a donor. So the first thing we do, if you look on the left side of your screen, is we qualify, we identify prospects. I'm going to talk about that in a moment. Then we cultivate, we get to know them, we let them get to know us. Then we solicit, we make an ask. And today we're talking about membership. So the ask would be inviting them to become a member. And then we thank them, we acknowledge them, and we steward them. And it's cyclical. So then the next year we check to make sure that their personal and professional situation hasn't changed, which might alter what they are able to give, whether it's more or less. We continue to cultivate them. We ask them to renew and upgrade their membership. And again, we thank them. For membership, I sort of take these moves management steps and put them into sort of 3 categories: connect, engage, and deepen. And that's really what I'm going to focus on. So connect. This really refers to finding prospects. So essential to building any sort of prospect pool for membership is collecting contact information. And this can be a real challenge. Privacy and public skepticism and new rules and laws to protect personal data, as there should be, are something that we all have to contend with. And so I'm going to suggest that we invite people to stay connected with us, that we explain that by sharing contact information, by joining our email list, they are joining in on supporting and engaging in our missions and our programs. And we want to make sure that we are delivering on everything we promised. So in terms of collecting information, you can do it at ticket orders, at special events, through your website. You can do a program insert when people visit your organization, if they purchase something from a boutique or a shop that you have on your premises. You want to make sure you're focused, of course, on opt-in. You're using permission marketing. You're never capturing information people aren't aware of, because you're building trust. At Ailey, one thing that we did was we inserted in each playbill an opportunity for people to join our email list. We gave them an incentive, we made it easy for them to sign up, and we asked for their contact information. All right, people were knowing, how do we learn about our prospects? I'm gonna dig into that right now. Sorry, I am. Of course, I think most of you are probably already using Google, social media, data overlays and demographics and wealth screening. And I want to talk about data overlays and wealth screening. And I want to say that I recognize, particularly for the European community, that this might have some of you in the audience raising your eyebrows in concern. Privacy and personal data is just that, private and personal, and we need to make sure that we are abiding by laws and rules, but also that we're building trust with our patron pool. But I think that data overlays can be done in a variety of ways that don't infringe upon personal and private without people divulging that directly to us. So one suggestion I have for a data overlay is to map out your patrons. So again, this isn't just donors, but you can do it for your donor base, for people who are on your email list, who have purchased tickets or come to your venue. You can actually map where they live. In the United States, we have zip codes, and so I can easily see on a map where people are coming from to participate with our organization. And I can ask myself questions and find this out from government and public sources. Do these neighborhoods have mostly families? Is this a neighborhood where young professionals live? Is our venue walking distance or drivable easily from this neighborhood? Or is there public transportation? All of these kind of information about your patron base is really helpful because it can help you know what kinds of events and programming for development as well as for marketing would be useful to the people who are likely to get engaged with your organization. It can also be a way to know if you're dealing with families versus young professionals, the time of day of your membership benefits, your member events might change. So there are so many things that you can do by doing simple data overlays that you can get from public information. And as many of you know, here in the United States, we also do wealth screening. We take particularly our donor base, and we often give it to a third party that has access and can do some research and tell us the capacity of our donor base. For memberships, that's not particularly important. If you offer membership benefits and membership levels at varying levels, so you have an entry point that is accessible to a lot of people, and then you have different levels depending on people's capacity and propensity, you can kind of cover a wide range of people through your membership programs. Now, as important as online is, and we all know that especially during COVID, we've been really dependent and reliant on online tools. I want to point out that don't overlook advocates and ambassadors, people to connect you to other people. So some of your board members, some of your volunteers, some of your current donors, or people who come to, if you're a performing arts company, some people who come to your performances, they can make connections and introductions to other people who might also be interested in your organization and in your membership program. And they can also provide background information. They can give you some insight into likes and dislikes or hobbies that might be helpful for you to know. Now, the research piece is important, but I would say that nothing as important as getting to know your prospects in person or during COVID online in person. Events, one-on-one meetings at the venue, and then online as well. Now, I'm noticing that I want to make sure I get to everything, so I am going to first check in. Are there any questions that I should be responding to?
Amanda, a lot of the questions you're responding to, and in the interest of time, which I think we will quickly run out of,
Okay.
if it's okay with you, it's certainly okay with us. If we go over, if we plan on going over and make that announcement now, if it's okay with you,
Yeah,
just so you can work through your slides.
Okay.
So I would say keep going because you're addressing
Got
the
it.
questions, and maybe we can get to the stragglers
Great.
later.
All right, so I'm gonna put this slide up and just briefly talk about it. one thing that we know in development is that like you wouldn't typically ask someone to marry you on your first date, you typically won't ask for a donation or even a membership when you first are introduced to a prospect. And while you want to use a mix of online and in-person ways of getting to know your potential member, you can use email cascades as a way to connect with them and to learn more about them. So on your website, I imagine a lot of you have an opportunity for people to sign up for an e-news. There's usually an automated response that is given. You want to make sure you're providing insider information. You want to, once people sign up for e-news, you want to follow through with informative and valuable content. So over the next maybe 30 days to 6 weeks, you want to send, not overload them, but send emails with opportunities for them to learn more about your organization, maybe to get involved. Maybe one of these emails will be a special offer to entice them to come to a performance, come to an event, take a class. And then after that is when you can make your membership pitch. So moving right along into ingredients of the ask, Kay Sprinkle Grace, who I referenced earlier, mentions 3 important ingredients: inspiration, information, and motivation. Inspiration, information, and motivation. And I'm going to use this example from the Ailey website, actually. It's one that's been done during COVID. And you'll see I noticed 2 points of inspiration. Still, we dance. And a quote from Alvin Ailey: I believe that dance came from the people and that it should always be delivered back to the people. And then the bulk of the content is information and motivation for the ask, for the donor to make the contribution. So you want to make sure you're giving specifics about what your organization is doing for the community. And then you're going to make a pitch on how your member could get involved through a donation. For time, I'm going to move us on to the next stage, which is engaging and cultivating relationships. This is the cultivation and stewardship phase of moves management. This slide are probably things that most of you are aware of and are actively doing. It's so important in membership programs to be offering personal customer service, donor-centric, donor-centric and donor-focused, and being responsive and proactive. So again, personal customer service, focusing on the donor, being responsive and proactive. So I want to talk about events because events tend to be a large part of memberships. And what do I mean by events? It can be a wide variety of things. I am not talking about here galas or other fundraising events. Those are separate. The events that are associated with membership are both cultivation and stewardship events. And often I use one event for both purposes. I'm cultivating prospective members, and I'm thanking and involving and engaging current members. So a lot of times, if I'm already working with my team to create an event for membership base, I'm going to invite some prospects to that event because we're already doing it. The cost of adding a few people is generally small. It gives prospective members a chance to meet other members, which is a very important part of what we do. I'm starting with this slide to talk about when you launch or maybe relaunch a membership program. I'm a big fan of doing some sort of kickoff event. Doesn't have to be costly. It doesn't have to be long. It doesn't have to be fancy. It has to be just appropriate to the membership program that you are launching. This program kickoff event is for a new membership program we did towards the end of my tenure at Ailey. It was called the Parents Annual Fund. It was made up of parents whose children regularly took classes in our Ailey school, and we created a Parents Annual Fund. I know we called it a fund, but it was actually a membership program with membership levels and benefits. And we kicked off the program, the new membership program, with an event we called Moves and Grooves, an evening for Ailey school families. We came up with this fun name. We created a range of interactive activities because it was family-based. And it was really an invitation for members, people who had already signed up to help us launch this new membership program, and potentially for future members, other parents who had kids in the school, to mix and meet and mingle the staff and the teachers, but also other donors. And I can't say enough how important it is to provide opportunities for your members to meet other members. That's why events are so important. In my own experience, inclusivity is an important part of membership. So at Ailey, every year, we opened up a rehearsal to all members at all levels. So whether you gave $75 or $10,000, you were invited to this event. The rehearsal was moderated by our artistic director. It took place in our theater. It lasted for about an hour. The cost of this event was actually quite minimal. We already had the theater space. It was leading up to the opening of our New York season. The dancers and the crew were at the theater in rehearsal. It was a daytime event, which meant the development staff was at work and could help at the event. And we used to send a postcard, really simple postcard like this. And they just waved their postcard and entered the theater. Now, today, I would probably just do a digital postcard rather than even print one. Now, as important as inclusive events are, exclusive events are also important, particularly as you go up in the higher levels of membership. You want the higher levels of membership to feel that they are a special group of supporters. So I'm showing you another postcard, a simple invitation, but this is an invite to a more exclusive event with our artistic director, and he, Robert Battle, and then he will be having a conversation, interview conversation with a choreographer. And you'll see that the design of this is a little different than the open rehearsal I just showed you. It has a little more formal feel. The font selection, the style, the color, it's a little more elegant, and that's intentional. Both postcards, but for very different purposes and different audiences. So again, events are important. You want to make sure there's a net positive cost ratio to you, so that cost to benefit ratio puts you in the net positive. For performing arts organizations, these type of events often involve the artistic side. So it's watching a rehearsal. It is doing a meet and greet with the dancers. It's a backstage tour. Those kind of experiential events don't cost a lot of money and really provide insider access to your members. I don't want to miss digital connections, which I'm realizing I am just going to quickly hit. We all, I think, are using memes, GIFs, clever posts. Some of you are probably diving into TikTok. I haven't used TikTok yet. It's on my list. In the arts, I think we have a real advantage to other charity organizations because we have great visual and oral assets. We have photos, we have video, we have audio. We also tend to collect a lot of anecdotes and testimonials from our audience members. And we can use all of this to continue to connect with our members and our prospects. I want to just quickly mention that websites continue to be really important. I know the website typically lives under the auspices of the marketing department, but try in development to be at least at the table in conversations, because a large part of development is marketing, and it's important that very easily from the homepage that our presence, whether it's for donations or membership, is obvious to our site visitors. Social media is ubiquitous. We can't get away from it. Again, it's a great tool for building awareness and engagement. And again, people think of it as a marketing tool. I want to really say that it's also a really good tool for development. You can promote member events, encouraging people who are not yet members to join, to get involved. And I also want to mention infographics. I'm a big fan of these. I know they're good for marketing, but I think they're great for development because they have all the aspects that we talked about earlier: inspiration, information, and motivation. And you'll see here, this is an example of an infographic we did for Ailey. It was a really successful campaign. It's visually stimulating, has really simple, direct messaging, and was very meaningful, and our members responded. Grassroots fundraising through friend-raising. Take advantage of your donors and your members' social circles on their own social media. Every year, Facebook reminds me that my birthday's coming up and that I could support a cause. You could have people do membership campaigns for you through their own social media platforms. Contrary to popular belief, I believe that direct mail is not dead. And I really suggest that your development membership campaigns have a digital component and a direct mail or a hard copy component as well. Quickly, I am going to the last phase, which is deepen, which is about building memberships for the long term. Empathy is really important in this phase. It's about taking a walk in your members' shoes. It's about gaining valuable insight and building deeper connections. Part of this, to me, is the recognition and stewardship phase, being really creative as well as genuine and consistent with how you thank and acknowledge your members through letters, through notes, through video, through phone, through text, through social media. And this is all about ongoing engagement and communication. I'm going to end with a short story. This is a photo taken at the Great Wall of China. It's me with some of our Ailey partners. Every other year, I would select an international tour city where the dance company was going to be performing, and I would create a 5-day patron trip. We called this program International Ailey Partners. All levels of Ailey partners were invited to join the trip. There was a fee to participate in the trip. That fee covered performance tickets, private tours, local transportation. It also helped cover the cost for Ailey staff like me to go on the trip, which is the whole point. The point is to spend time with your members and have your members spending time with you and your artistic team and other members. During my time at Ailey, I planned trips to Barcelona, to Paris, Copenhagen, Shanghai, Beijing, Berlin. And I share this context because I want to tell you a quick story. When I first started at Ailey, I met a couple. For our purposes today, I'm going to call them Amy and Alan. And they were regular ticket buyers to performances. They did buy gala tickets, and they gave a modest Ailey Partners membership donation every year. For our first major capital campaign, which happened when I first got to Ailey, they made a contribution of $50,000. That's a very generous gift. Of course, after that gift, they became more and more involved with us. They came to more performances, they came to more member events, and they went on every international Ailey Partners trip. A few years passed, and we launched a new endowment campaign. Amy and Alan had given $50,000 to our capital campaign, just as a reminder. Now we got to know them more. We knew they had greater capacity, and we knew from all of their connection points to us through their membership benefits that they had more propensity to give. So for that endowment campaign, Amy and Alan gave us a contribution of $500,000. Now, that's not going to happen every time, nor is it what you should expect from membership programs. But my point here is that having those connections, that active connection between member and organization, builds relationships that really follow through for the long term. It builds commitment, it builds trust, it builds engagement. So there are times when you are building or revamping or just managing a membership program that feels like you're trying to build the Great Wall of China. And I'm here to say, build it, they will come. And I'm just going to show the sources and my email in case anyone has questions, and I will stop sharing.
Great. And Amanda, I'm going to jump in with a couple questions, if that's okay.
Absolutely. Sorry, I went super fast.
No. That's, I think, if everyone wants to stay on for another 10 minutes, we're happy, I think, to take those questions. So maybe a question about the story you were just saying. The question is, did you ask for that $500,000 or did they give it to you on their own?
Sure. I should say I'm a big believer, if you don't ask, you don't get. So it was the ask. We were a little on the fence if 500,000 was the right level, but I knew this couple very well at this point, and I felt like they would just tell me if I was way off base. They would be like, "Ha, not going to happen. Give us another number," and it's because of that relationship.
Now, for the folks that are trying to build a membership program and maybe have to sell that a little bit to their management, to their board, what are the arguments in helping you get a budget for such a program?
So again, I think we all know that fundraising at its core is really about building relationships. And I think that membership programs in particular are created to help us build those relationships. So it's really about providing opportunities and access points to the donor base through donor events, through special donor communications that can make that connection between a donor and your organization. And I think that members give, I don't have any facts or figures just to share with you right now, but I think members give consistently. They tend to renew. They tend to renew and upgrade when they are connected with you. So that point of engagement, the connection with your organization, as well as the connection with other like-minded people in the membership program. So I think you could start small. Like I said, Ailey had 5 different membership programs, but I'm not suggesting you launch 5. Start with 1. Maybe you want to start with like we did with the Friends of Alvin Ailey, a lower access point, a more modest giving level, and maybe just have 2 or 3 levels of membership that you can deliver and that you think will engage a member base.
How old is the average Ailey supporter or patron?
It's interesting. It's changed a lot. When I first got to Ailey in 2002, it was probably 50 to 70. But we started to really bring in more younger people, and then we made a real concerted effort in my last few years, which they've continued with the young professionals group, the young patron circle, to build the next generation of philanthropists.
And let me ask the final question, and then I'll welcome Claudia to jump on the screen. But the question is really about the difference between the development team and the marketing team, the budgets between the two, et cetera.
Okay, this is a constant. It's a constant point of opportunity and conflict. I think it's really important for you to,
and the size of the budgets too.
Yeah.
Please.
Yeah, and it's really, I think, important to be open with your marketing colleagues about how important development is. And we all know that so much of development is marketing, from membership materials to campaign materials. I mean, it's a lot of marketing. I spent a lot of time developing that relationship with marketing. And then I also was able to, at some point, prove to my colleague in marketing that members actually bought more tickets to performances. And that's what got marketing to pay attention to the members, because they were like, oh, this is our best customer. We should be paying attention to them.
Great. Thank you so much, Claudia. We'll be jumping on the screen to close out, but maybe I'll just start by thanking Amanda. There were a lot of questions. Maybe what we'll do is we'll put a few in an email to you, if that's okay, and then send them out. We'll just synthesize them so there's nothing repetitive there. But let me just thank you so much for today, for joining us. I think the membership program for some organizations is a harder sell, and hearing from you and your experience is super helpful as people strategize. And a big thank you to our partners today, Swiss Fundraising Association, German Fundraising Association, Austrian Fundraising Association. Claudia, are you on the line to say a few words?
Yes, I am. thanks a lot, Amanda. I saw in the chat, so many people seem to really like your presentation because it was very, has a hands-on character, very useful, very inspiring. Also for us in Europe, where the systems are different, but membership programs and all you said here would really work also here in Austria, Germany, Switzerland, and the other countries. I think one of your most valuable messages was the why, because organizations really tend to describe themselves much too technical. And if you put the why in the center, then you argue, the arguments come with emotion, and emotions, as we know, are really necessary for donations. So also, also the benefits, you described how important it is to have a connection with the donors or members, and in the ideal case, the benefit is a kind of connection, which you described very good. Also, you showed us that how important is research to really learn to know your members and your donors. We always know that in fundraising and development. Also, as you said, the ask, you don't get money usually if you don't ask for it. And I also found very interesting your the infographics you showed us to involve people very easily on a visual base. And apart from this, for sure, for the higher level programs, the circle, the exclusiveness is very, very important. And here you can bring in your artistic directors and other very important stuff of or artists of your organization. So yes, I think we all enjoyed it. And we thank Amanda, we thank the King Baudouin Foundation, Elena and Lindsay, thank you very much. Without you, this would not have been possible. And so I'm going to give back the word to Elena, I guess, for the closing. Thanks a lot.
Just to say, thank you so much, Claudia. Thank you so much, everybody. We'll make the recording available. We'll make Amanda's slides available if that's okay with her. And we'll ask her a few straggling questions and circulate that around. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful start to your week and enjoy the Euro Cup and all the celebrations. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.